Hello, I'm Chris Evans, a teacher at Orange Coast College, and I'm thrilled to invite everyone to join the second annual STEAM Race to Space Reading Challenge, which begins today. In conjunction with the Orange County Department of Education, the For Space Company, and the Orange County Children's Book Festival, the race begins now. Just for reading some amazing books, you can win cool prizes, tickets to a trampoline park, dance lessons, passes to the San Diego Zoo, a story time session with one of the authors you're going to meet today, even a Chromebook. But most importantly, you'll learn how science, technology, engineering, the arts, and mathematics can lead to a rewarding career, help you solve important problems, help you figure out how we can make the world better. So join us in this race to space. After today's event, your teachers can show you how to visit the website and register for this amazing adventure. So let's blast off by talking to some inspiring writers, teachers, and scientists. First up, we're joined by Sue Fleece. She is a best-selling, award-winning author of more than 50 children's books, including Sadie Sprocket Builds a Rocket, How to Trap a Leprechaun, Mary Had a Little Lab, and the Kid Scientist series. So Sue, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, it's wonderful to have you. You have so many amazing books back there. I want to read them all.
Thank you. Yeah, well, fortunately, they're picture books, so they wouldn't take you that long.
Well, I would love to read them. But today we're here to talk about your series, Kid Scientist. This series is so awesome. What inspired you to write these cool stories and include these sort of scientific adventures?
So it was sort of a combination and a group effort with my publisher. I've done a lot of STEM titles with Albert Whitman, mostly fractured fairy tales, actually, and a couple of nonfiction books that are coming out. And they asked me, would I be interested in writing a series that focused on kids as scientists? So we brainstormed sort of how it would all take shape. And what it is really giving kids a peek into a day in the life of in various different sciences. So I'm not a scientist, but now I feel like I'm kind of a mini expert on all of these different sciences. So there's actually 4 books in the series right now, and there's more coming. The first 2 came out in April, Marine Biologists on a Dive and Archaeologists on a Dig. And go into archaeology and marine biology, clearly. And then there's new ones that come out October 27th. So you guys are getting actually the first peek into these. This one is about entomologists. It's insect experts in the rainforest. They go to Costa Rica and discover a new insect. And the one we're going to be talking about today is kid scientist astronauts on the space station. And they are the kids go to the International Space Station and spend about 6 months and do all sorts of experiments in space, which of course the space station is like a mini, or not a mini, but a lab up in space. So they have an adventure up there, and we can talk a little bit more about that too. But I'm super excited to get to share those with you.
I'm excited too. I feel like I've learned so much, and I'm a scientist after reading the books. Do you mind reading a bit from your newest book, Kid Scientists, Astronauts in Space?
I would love to. So this is the story of Jose, Cassie, and Gia, and they go to the International Space Station to do experiments, as I mentioned. And Cassie and Gia are going to be more studying and doing experiments on body and how their bodies are changing over time in space. And Jose is going to try to grow lettuce in space. So I'm just going to read a couple of pages for you here because it's a little bit of a longer picture book. They head to the exercise module and check out the equipment. Each week, Cassie and Gia will observe how living in space affects the human body. We'll track our height, weight, and nutrition, says Cassie, and monitor our hearts. Weightlessness can affect the heart's beating rhythm over time, so Cassie and Gia will be watching for any unusual patterns. Without gravity compressing our spines, says Cassie, our bodies might stretch a bit too. So we may get taller, asks Jose. Cassie nods. But our muscle size may decrease. In space, there's little resistance to help keep muscles in shape. We'll need to exercise regularly to stay healthy. And they go and they check out all of the equipment, the exercise equipment in the space station. And then here is Jose with his veggie lab. Cassie and Gia help Jose set up his plant growing station. How long do you think it will take to grow? Asks Gia. My hypothesis, or guess based on evidence, is that it will take 2 months from seed to plant. Aeroponic plants often grow faster because they absorb more nutrients and the roots get more oxygen. So in this case, they grow some lettuce, and then they do encounter some space debris, and they get to go on a spacewalk. So here's just some pictures of Cassie, or not Cassie, Gia and Jose going on a spacewalk to fix a solar panel that gets damaged. And I just love this spread because you can really see them out in space. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. Out in space, and they have the Earth here, and then the moon, and they're enjoying space. And actually, I woke up this morning to a lot of space news. Our National Air and Space Museum in DC, I'm located near DC, reopened today after adding all these galleries and cool exhibits. And the 4 astronauts that were on the space station are set to splash down today from the SpaceX capsule. So that was kind of fun. I woke up and my whole day is space related.
So, Sue, I'm curious, if you could go to outer space, would you?
If I had the money to do it, yes, I think I would. It's funny. I have another book called Sadie Sprocket Builds a Rocket, and she goes to Mars. And so I did a lot of research on Mars, and there's a scientist that I sort of did a lot of research on who's a rocket scientist who thought she wanted to be the first one to Mars, just like Sadie. But then she had a kid and realized how long she would have to be gone and all this stuff. So I do worry about the risks of being gone and being in a completely foreign environment. But I think it would be life-changing.
Well, let's do it. Let's make it happen somehow. So your kids scientists have explored the oceans, the rainforest, they've gone to space, they've been on archaeological dig. Where do you think they're going to travel to next? What's the next adventure?
Well, I do know because I've written in it. It's coming out next year. They are going to Iceland, and they are going to a volcano. So they are volcano experts on the edge. Is what it will be called, and they're going to this volcano that it's actually a dormant volcano. And their hypothesis is that it is extinct. So it's not only dormant, but it won't ever erupt again. And I won't give the Icelandic name because I cannot pronounce it, but they call it the Queen of the Mountains, I believe. So they go and visit this and hike up to the top and do experiments, and it's very cool. They use drones, and it'll be fun.
I'll meet you there. Let's join them. That sounds
I know.
fabulous.
Actually, we're trying to plan a senior trip for my son, and I thought, let's go to Iceland. I need to go anyway for research.
Sue, I am in. One last question, too, just very quickly. Have you always been a reader? What developed your love of reading?
Well, I would have to credit libraries and my parents. My parents are avid readers. Ever since I was little, I can remember being in the room, watching them each have a book in hand. And my mom used to take my sister and I to the library, and we would check out big stacks of books. And then I can remember sitting on the couch, and my dad would read them to us. So I think I've just always been surrounded by books, which also kind of made me a writer as well. And I do remember my dad one time very distinctly reading a Stephen King novel. And I was watching him read it just in the chair, and he slams it shut. And I said, "What's the matter?" And he said, "It just got so scary. I couldn't read it anymore." And it kind of was this click that happened, thinking, wow, there's a book that can take you to a place even super scary or super fun or on an adventure where you're sitting in a room, but you're really someplace else. And I think that has always drawn me into trying to create worlds for kids as well.
Well, you're doing an amazing, amazing job. I will say to everyone listening today, make sure you have a library card. It is a powerful thing. And also make sure you ask your parents to read you books because it's a wonderful experience for the whole family. I love it. Sue, just very quickly, we only have a couple of seconds left of all the books back on that shelf back there. What's the one you would recommend that everyone should read?
Oh my goodness. Of mine?
No, all of those back there behind you.
Oh my goodness. Oh, one of my, I was going to say, I don't want to be talking about my own books anymore. One of my favorite books is Library Lion by Michelle Knudsen, and I just adore it, and I still will take it out as an example of what I could aspire to write. And also Watercress by Andrea Wang. And yeah, so those two I would recommend right now. Kind of an older one and a new one.
Those are fabulous, fabulous recommendations. Thank you.
You are so
Sue,
welcome.
thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me. I hope it's a great event for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up, our next author is Kristy Everington. She is an MFA. She has an MFA writing for children and young adults literature, and she's going to talk about her debut book, Isabel Adds It Up. Kristy, hello.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Oh, it's wonderful to be here. I loved your book. It was so fantastic.
Thank you so much.
And I love the name. That's my daughter's name, Isabel. So I'm going to pass this along to her, even though she's in college.
Is it spelled the same way?
It is not. It is not. I love that it had the O instead of the E. That was fantastic. So I told her already, like, oh, here's a new variant of the spelling.
Yeah.
Kristy, do you mind reading a little bit from your fantastic book?
Sure. Okay, Isabel Adds It Up is illustrated by A.G. Ford. Isabel loved math. She loved the soft curves of the number 3, the hard edge of 7, and how numbers always made sense to her. In the quiet of her room, she sharpened her pencil and zipped through her homework. And then the new neighbors moved next door. They made loud noises. They bumped, they clomped, they banged, they stomped. Isabel said, I think acrobats live next door. She couldn't concentrate with all the noise. She had subtractions, additions, multiplications, all due Monday. She tried working the garden, but her subtractions got soaked in the rain. Inside, the rumbles got louder, the trumpets grew shrill, the stomping shook the walls. Isabel couldn't think. She said, I think a marching band lives next door. She shushed them as loudly as she could, but the trombone just growled for longer. She stuck tissues in her ears and wedged herself in a cupboard, but it was too dark to do addition, and she could still hear the neighbors. They danced and they shouted and played their music loud. She tried to count the drum beats, but couldn't keep track of the numbers. That marching band has no manners, Isabel cried. She decided she would play her own music loud and see how they liked that. She turned the volume up as far as it would go. Her music mixed with theirs. What a ruckus. Finally, their music stopped. But then Isabel heard the neighbors dancing and singing to her song. She stamped her feet up and down, making nearly as much noise as the neighbors. Isabel had never handed homework in late before. She stared at her math problems, but the sounds of party poppers and a conga line made it impossible to focus. Numbers didn't make sense to her anymore. Not even tracing the curves of 3 could cheer her up. She had to do something about this noise. Thunk, thunk, swish. There, did you hear that? Isabel asked her father. That's a ball bouncing on the floor. I think a basketball team lives next door. Isabel had an idea. She made peanut butter cookies because she liked measuring flour with a 3/4 cup, and everyone knows peanut butter cookies are the best. She left them on the neighbor's doorstep with a note. Dear basketball team, welcome to the neighborhood. I understand it is difficult for you to be quiet because you have big feet, but I would appreciate it if you could keep the noise down, please, as I have 14 math problems due on Monday. I hope you like the peanut butter cookies. I made them extra peanutty for you. Love, Isabel, apartment 2. That evening, a note got slipped under her door. To Isabel, sorry about the noise. Thanks for being understanding. We do have big feet. We will try to be more quiet. Thanks for the cookies. Peanut butter is my favorite. I also have math homework due on Monday. Maybe we could study together. Love from Bernadette. Isabel wasn't sure. She loved quiet, and Bernadette made an awful lot of noise. The next day, there was a loud knock. Bernadette was not what Isabel had imagined. And it turned out she was an excellent study partner after all. They could do subtractions outside even when it rained. Bernadette was fantastic at times tables. She could remember 6 times 7 every time. After all, an elephant never forgets. They baked different peanut treats together. Isabel measured and Bernadette cleaned up. When it got too loud inside, Bernadette helped with that too. They both finished their math problems on time, and sometimes Isabel joined the ruckus next door.
Kristy, that is fantastic. I loved your book. It was so wonderful. Isabel is such a great character. She's great at math. She's great at music. She's a problem solver. But then you have that mystery of bringing in Bernadette. Talk to me about the character of Bernadette.
Oh, I love Bernadette. Bernadette is a neighbor that we'd all like to have, I think. Great at math, helpful with baking. It was nice that Isabel could make a friend who she had so much in common with, even thinking that she would have nothing in common with her. But it turns out that they both love maths.
Well, I love how you crafted the story, because I was trying to figure out, is it a basketball team? Who lives up there? What's going on? And then it ends up being this wonderful character, Bernadette. So it's brilliant. Kristy, do you think you're going to bring Isabel back? And we're going to see more of her exploits with math and music and Bernadette?
Maybe. There's nothing in the works right now, but I wouldn't say never. I think that Isabel and Bernadette could really have a lot of fun solving problems together.
I think we could all have fun with Isabel and Bernadette solving problems together. So I would love to have another book. Kristy, have you always been a reader? Like, how did you become a reader and writer?
Yes, I have always loved reading from a young age. I had a library card, as you mentioned before. It was so important to me. I would hit the library every week and just take out stacks and stacks of books, and I love them all. What I loved about it is that they can take you into different worlds and show you experiences that you can't have, or maybe you just can't have yet. So you get to have all of these adventures elsewhere that you can't have in your real life, like having an elephant for a neighbor. That can't happen in real life, but it can happen in a story.
Maybe it can. We can
Maybe.
try.
I'm living hope that maybe one day I'll have an elephant as a neighbor.
Well, Kristy, I hope everyone picks up your fantastic book. You too have an amazing bookshelf back there. Do you have a book you'll recommend to all of our listeners today?
I do. It's called Hello Star. I do have it back there somewhere, but I can't immediately see it. It's called Hello Star. It's by my friend Stephanie Lucianovic, and it came out just last year, and it's about a girl who loves a star and she wants to save it. So
Ooh, I can't wait to read that.
It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's illustrated by Vashti Harrison.
Ooh. Well, I will pick it up, and everyone should go pick up not only that, but also Isabel Adds It Up, because it's such a wonderful book.
Thank you.
Kristy, thank you so very much. And finally, we are joined by our last guest for the day. She is Dr. Theanne Griffith. She is a neuroscientist, a professor of physiology and membrane biology at the University of California, Davis. She's an award-winning author of The Magnificent Makers, co-author of the book series, and popular Netflix show, Ada Twist's Scientist, The Y Files. Theanne, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, I am thrilled to have you. I loved this series of books, And I loved the series on Netflix. I found myself watching episode after episode.
They're lovely. It's so wonderful to have a science show like that. I have two small children and I enjoy watching it with them. It's really fun.
It is wonderful. The bio on the back of your book says this: you are a brain scientist by day and a storyteller by night. That is awesome. Can you tell me about that?
Absolutely. So I'm what we call a neuroscientist. So a neuroscientist is somebody who studies our nervous system, and the brain is a huge part of our nervous system. So I run a lab and we do experiments to try and understand how our nervous system can allow us to feel things like temperature, touch, and pain. So even though we feel those things through our skin, it's actually our nervous system that tells our brain, like, ooh, that was hot, or ooh, that hug felt nice.
Hmm. And then at night you put on your superhero writer costume and become a storyteller?
I do. So as you've been talking about with the other guests, I absolutely have always loved reading and writing, and I love escaping into new worlds where I can create fun stories out of this world adventures, or bring information that might seem kind of complicated, like how a space rocket flies, and make it fun and easy to read for young children.
Well, you've done a fantastic job of that. Ada Twist is such a great character. Can you talk about Ada? Because she runs through these books and she is wonderful.
She is just so adorable. Like, I just love her. I love her little poofball pigtails. She's who I wanted to be as a child, right? She's adventurous. She's strong-willed. She's curious. She loves to ask questions, as we all know. That's what got her into a little bit of trouble in the original Ada Twist Scientist book. So I just love all of those things about her.
I love her catchphrase. It's a mystery, a riddle, a puzzle, a quest. And you worked that in every single book for her to prepare for this. So this book, Ada Twist, The Y-Files, Exploring Flight. Do you mind sharing a little bit from your book with us?
Absolutely. I can read the first couple pages, which talk about really important concepts about how things fly. So I'll start reading now. Okay. It's a perfect day. The sky is blue and clear. If I look up, can I see outer space? No. I have an observation. I see planes, birds, bees, rockets, spiders. What? How do all these things fly? It's a mystery, a riddle, a puzzle, a quest. Time to find out what flight is about. Flight is when an object moves without touching anything on Earth. When something flies through the air, it is called aviation. When it flies through outer space, it's called space flight. An object needs 4 forces to fly. A force is a push or a pull that changes an object's speed, shape, or direction. Flight has 4 forces. The 4 forces of flight. First, thrust pushes an object forward. Drag pulls an object back. Lift pushes an object up. And weight pulls an object down. When we swing, it can feel like we are flying. A friend pushes us and we are thrust forward as we lift up in the air. Our weight pulls us down and we are dragged backward. Today, a big bird landed next to me. I looked at it. It looked at me. The bird flapped its wings. I flapped my arms. One of us flew away. Hint, it was not me. Why can't I fly like a bird? Look, a bird. A poem by Ada Twist. As I looked up at the big blue sky, I saw a bird flapping by. Now I have questions. I want to know why. How do they do that? And why can't I? So you have to keep reading to find out a little bit more about how birds actually can fly, although I'm happy to talk about it now with our remaining time.
Well, you talked about so many cool things: birds, planes, rockets, helicopters. But I want you to back up. You mentioned it. Spiders can fly. Tell us about that.
So spiders don't actually fly in the traditional way, but they do. So we all know that spiders spin webs, right? So spiders can also spin, you can think of them as like little parachutes. Let me see if I can find the picture in here. But when it's a nice, warm, and windy day, you will often find spiders shoot out like little parachutes that catch the wind. And because spiders are so light, they will just fly and use the wind kind of like a parachute to sail to another direction. So spiders indeed can fly through the air. Again, it's very different from a bird or a bee flying, but they can.
That is amazing. I did not know that.
I didn't know that until I started writing this book. That is the most fun thing I think about authoring these, because as you notice, none of them are about the brain. We have one about flying and flight, one about baking, and then one about plants. And I got to learn all kinds of stuff that I actually didn't know in writing these books.
Well, I did as well too. I want to be Ada Twist. She is so curious about her world and she's so smart and she's a poet too. Theanne, she's a lot like you. She's a scientist and she's a writer.
Yes, exactly. You can combine those two things. And also for everyone listening, as a scientist, writing and reading are a huge part of what we do. We have to write kind of like, you can think of them as little lab reports. Each time we make a discovery and we want to share it with our science friends, we basically have to write a lab report that explains what we've done and what we found. So being a good writer and being able to read well is a huge part of being a scientist.
Well, you must be very good at writing lab reports too, because I really love these books. With just our last question, as you said, Ada has explored flight and plants and cooking. Where's she going next? What's she going to find out about in this next adventure?
Yes, the next adventure is called Bug Bonanza. The hard copies aren't ready yet, so I don't have one to show you, but we are going to be exploring the creepy, crawly world of bugs. And I must say, I have a little bit of a bug phobia. They kind of can give me chills sometimes. And it was so fun to write this book and just see how fascinating they are. So one thing that you'll learn in this book is that many bugs, like spiders, they don't have lungs like we do. They have something called book lungs. I've learned that they're these little folds that allow them to breathe through their belly. It's super cool. So that was a fun fact that I learned about spiders that made me a little bit less scared of them.
Wow. Well, I can't wait to find out about bugs through Ada because it is a mystery, it's a riddle, it's a puzzle, and it's a quest. And I will be there for every quest she takes. Thank you.
Yay.
I would love to bring everyone back. So can I bring back Sue and Kristy as well too?
Hi.
Guys, welcome. And we have a fifth guest as well too. I would like to bring in Pat Burns. She is the co-founder and director of the Orange County Children's Book Festival. There she is. Pat, welcome.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much. You guys were awesome. We're so glad to have those young children get inspired by you. And I just want to do a real quick blast off to the students listening and their teachers to encourage you to just jump right into this STEAM Race to Space Reading Challenge. Get busy about logging in your minutes and your pages and your books because you know we've got out of this world prizes. It's going to be so cool. So just wishing you all a wonderful, successful reading challenge. And Chris, great job. Thank you, everybody. Authors, you're amazing. Chris, I'll throw it back to you to close.
So thank you so very much. Again, I really enjoyed our time. Everyone watching today, go grab their books. They're absolutely amazing and keep reading and keep learning and keep just using math and science with bugs and elephants and space and everything else. So thank you so very, very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having
Bye-bye.
us.
It was awesome.
It was fantastic. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.